Welcome to another video, and in this one we're going to be talking a little bit about Path of Exile 2's skill system and how they might balance it with regards to what we've seen in the two most recent teasers. If you haven't seen them, there was one shown at the Summer Games Fest and another at the PC Gaming Show. The footage of these will be playing in the background, but I'll also link them in the video description below. So back in 2019, when Grinding Gear Games first announced Path of Exile 2, they also talked about its new skill gem system, which would reinvent the idea of sockets and links. Instead of having linked sockets on gear that you place both skill gems and relevant support gems in, you'd now be using sockets to place skill gems, and then within those skill gems would be the support gems themselves. Along with this was the revelation that Path of Exile 2's character builds wouldn't just have 1 or 2 6-link skills like we have in the current version of the game, but instead they'd have up to 8 fully supported skill gems to use. And with the only context that we have right now being the current game and the snippets of teaser content that we've seen, the question is, just how do we go from what we have right now to what Path of Exile 2 is going to bring to the game? Looking at the current systems, it's obvious that this new system wouldn't just be able to fit right in. There's major balanced red flags, things like hit-based skills and damage over time. Just think about cold dot builds that already use their 6-link to run a double 5-link, with an additional pseudo 5-link in the gloves or helmet. If these builds are allowed to run a 6-link Vortex, 6-link Creeping Frost, 6-link Cold Snap, and 6-link Wintertide brand, and they all have durations and they all deal damage at the same time which stacks, as we know it does in the current Path of Exile, then there's going to be balance problems. So how exactly might this new system work in PoE 2? Looking at the teasers, there's one thing that ties the two together, and that's the character's use of many different abilities. We see the Witch using a lightning ability at the start of the first teaser with seemingly no cooldowns. But as the teaser progresses, we can see some larger, more impactful abilities like the Storm Cloud that's at the Witch's feet, or the giant Ice Meteor. These abilities are never used twice in succession. And we can see a similar thing in the second teaser, with this monk-like staff-wielding melee character, which uses a wave ability on the initial fleet of monsters several times in succession. But once again, the larger-looking abilities like this lightning-style slam and then something that looks similar to Sunder, well, those ones are not used all that often. And I think there's many different interesting avenues that this can go down, but from these teasers alone, it may seem that some abilities have cooldowns and others may not. Could it be the case that builds will typically have access to 1 or 2 spammy skills, and the rest may be situational, potentially more impactful abilities? This is especially interesting when you factor in the movement animations that are attached to some of these skills. We see the Witch using an Ice Meteor, but the casting animation moves her position back slightly away from the impact. And the same is true on several occasions during the second teaser, where one of those character's slam-looking abilities causes him to do a backflip and end up further back from the impact. Or the Whirling Staff ability, which looks somewhat similar to Cyclone but seemingly moves the character's position, avoiding enemy hits in the process. Could it be the case that these additional movements that look like they're part of the abilities in the teasers are actually just support gems which alter the skill's casting animation, adding to the idea of having several utility-style abilities which are more situational instead of spamming? Could the same be said about cooldowns? What if new support gems are added to massively increase damage compared to more traditional supports, or add very useful utility, but they also apply a cooldown to the ability? And what of the movement in these teasers, like the dodge roll that we see the Witch character using? I've heard some discussion in other communities about the potential removal of movement abilities, but I'm not really convinced that this will happen. Even though the lack of movement skills shown in the teaser is interesting, we do know that this is likely quite early progression into the story, which is why the teasers have a generally slower pacing and you're actually able to see all of the small interactions that are going on. I'd love to know what you guys think about this. How exactly do you think they're going to make the new skill gem system work in Path of Exile 2, and how are we going to make that transition to get there? And could we see drastically different support gems that may alter casting animations or cooldowns of abilities? Do let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And if you're enjoying the videos, please do like and subscribe for more like this in the future. And of course, the Keystone Highlight series is going to be continuing all the way up to ExileCon and maybe even beyond, depending if we get some new Keystones. And if you're really enjoying the videos, you can check out becoming a channel member on the join button below the video. And that's it for this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, stay tuned and stay safe.